What's going on, guys? This is the Cloud9 podcast, season 1, episode 12. There was an action-packed week of League of Legends, actually. Cloud9 went 3-0, so did 100 Thieves. And you know what's crazy? TSM lost to FlyQuest. TSM actually lost to FlyQuest, which is crazy because during the game, like if you actually watch that game, you're probably going like, okay, FlyQuest could probably stomp this game because they had the Udyr pick, right? Because Huni was doing his classic nocturne run in and die tactics, you know? But even during that game, I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, they can still win this game, actually. I don't know, like, a lot of these LCS games, even ever since 2020, actually, I never really get the feeling that just because you have the stronger team on paper, you should automatically win. There's been even just the game this past weekend with Cloud9 versus CLG. There was the moments where CLG probably should be winning, right? They have 2 Barons. And then there was the one team fight in the mid lane where they chunk out Blabber, forces out his Jinja ult, but then chunk him out again, only to have Perks just pretty much 1v9 carry the game, you know? So, man, it's been an action-packed week for League of Legends. And you have the LEC. The LEC, Misfits went 3-0. I bet Deficio is really happy about that. Misfits started 3-0. They ended up taking down Team Vitality, Fnatic, and what was the other team they beat? They actually ended up defeating... I think it was Rogue or something.
I didn't watch it LEC this week, so
okay. Don't worry. They're using the inferior region anyway.
We can say that. We can say that in our heads, but
yeah. You know. Oh my god! But how have you been, man? Actually,
I'm all right. I'm just I'm chilling, playing Improving Grounds back at home. It's a pretty more relaxed lifestyle than what it is in LCS and Academy, right? So. I'm just been kind of relaxing. I've been solo queuing a little bit more, trying to hit 1K LP.
That's hard.
Yeah, I'm pretty close though, so hopefully this week.
So we're gonna talk about Alorum's let's say tweets from this and his analyst thing. This past 2020 when LCS Spring Split, because there was a whole Fudge thing. Because remember, you had Fudge. I think you had him around 8th place for top winners when they asked you guys to do your rankings. And, like I tell people this, dude, when you're talking about a player, it's right to judge a player by how they're playing in that current moment in time. Because the people that we used to have on the show, when we still do, they were like, well, he's going to get better. We never said he wasn't going to get better. We said if you're judging a player right now, you have to judge a player off what they're giving you right now. I can't judge you off what you're in the future going to be doing, Yeah. That's not how analysts works,
And I mean, it was a tier list, right? So it was a tier list based on, like you said, how everyone is currently doing. It's not, and I think anyone can say, yeah, he's going to get better in the future, which is hard not to say, right? He's a new player playing on Cloud9. Like chances are he's going to get better in the future. But at the time, I rated him where I did, and so did Emily. Even put him on 9th. And we rated him there because at that moment he wasn't particularly playing that well. He was losing most lanes. That being said, he was playing mostly weak side. Like he had played a lot of Gragas, he had played Karma games and stuff. And so when you see that, and at the time it was like, okay, well, he's just fulfilling a role on C9. He's not actually contributing that much other than being the role player. And so why would you, if you were doing a current day, that current day tier list, why would you have rated him over someone that impacts the team way more? Like it was Alfari Impact and Someday.
Even Revenge was playing slightly better too for Immortals.
I think that's debatable, but the way I see it is, and when I do tier lists is, at least in terms of that kind of tier list, is how important are they to the team at the time? Is Someday is super important to 100 Thieves, and even though he wasn't playing his best, the success of Someday on 100 Thieves is pretty much indicative to the success of 100 Thieves.
That's very true.
If Someday is doing well, chances are 100 Thieves is going to be doing well. If Someday underperforms, chances are 100 Thieves is going to be doing worse. So I put Someday high because a lot of their wins and losses are dependent on him, while Fudge, it was the opposite. Fudge could be doing almost nothing the whole game and still win. So that's the way I saw it, and that's why at the time I put him where.
And if you look at the lock-in tournament for how Fudge played, I mean, it was rightfully so. He was playing poorly, and he really wasn't playing good up until the playoffs for the LCS 2021 spring split. Like he
Right.
really wasn't. He didn't really pop off until that moment though, because
He's scaled.
during that spring split, during that spring split, it was Blabber who would always go up to top lane and get first blood for him. He was playing. There was a game against TSM where he was playing like Fudge was playing Jax, Blabber's playing Udi, or he went up top. He went up to top lane like four different times.
Right?
Level 2, he went up to level 4, level 6.
Yeah,
he was just constantly in this top lane. Like that's what people said before Cloud9 went to MSI 2021 was like, well, if Blabber has to constantly babysit Fudge, that's going to be a detriment to the team because that's a lane that needs so much attention and the other lanes won't be getting its jungle attention, you know? So have you ever been in that position where you've been on any teams where like the junglers had to pay attention to one lane specifically enough and leave out the rest of the other team actually?
Well, it just depends on the comp, right? In that case, it was Camille versus Jax, which is a lane you want to play toward Jax because Jax's trading pattern includes him all-inning a lot, right? Using all your abilities and jumping onto the enemy. So like if you do that and you're not the strong side, there's a good chance that you're going to end up overextending and die to a jungle gank. So you want to have your jungle on that side. Like I said, it mainly depends on draft. Sometimes it depends on the player too, right? Some players like to play really aggressive. We can call it aggressively, but you know, sometimes it's been. But
or Whipple bluffing. That's what we call it.
Yeah, sometimes it can be a bluff, but I'd say mostly depends on comp. It's
okay.
So yeah.
I wanted to ask, Lauren, do you think the LCS has kind of leveled up with like Dig emerging and EG and even Immortals having a good start to the week? Do you think more teams are starting to like pick themselves up, or do you see the LCS has regressed a little bit?
I thought last split the LCS had regressed quite a bit, and I remember I was pretty big on saying that with all the new faces and all the new team swaps that there's going to be some growing pains. So, and I think that ended up being true, that there were a lot of teams that looked pretty weak, and even the good teams were making a lot of mistakes. But I do think at the start of this split, everybody has looked a little bit better. The games are a little bit more competitive, even from the bottom teams versus the top teams. Not to say there aren't stomps still, but I'd say for the most part, the LCS has gotten better from last split to this split.
Last split was, oh my God. Like,
last split was pretty rough.
Ooh, boy, 2020 was rough too. Those are some rough games. Like, even how the teams were built, it didn't make any sense. Like, why are you pairing Acadian, Huni, and Froggen together? That makes no logical sense.
Just, you know, sometimes you gotta. A lot of the teams
Keith support. Remember that?
I know. Like a lot of these teams, like they're just doing experimental stuff, right? Like with what they have. So a lot of it just comes down to trial and error, which is not always the best thing to do, because that just means like you sometimes would scrap an entire split to trial and error. But I guess that's just how it works here in NA. You know, just try something, hope it works out, and hope for the best, right?
So what about your time on the analyst desk, actually? Did you actually like your time casting for the LCS?
Yeah, I like it. I could talk about League all day. At my heart, I'm a competitor, right? The thing I like doing most is playing high level League. I like competing on stage and all that. So that's what I prefer, but it's not to say I didn't like working on the desk. You know, I like working with everybody, with all my colleagues on there. It's you just get to talk about what you like, right? So how could you not enjoy it? Just
because like you ended up being a player, an analyst, so all you have to do now is just be a coach, and you'll have the trifecta.
Yeah. Lauren, how do you feel about that? Like when you see Mithy, Bjergsen,
Golden Glue.
Golden Glue. Like, how do you feel about these players getting into these like coach or positional roles in these orgs?
I mean, I've thought about it before, right? And my only experience coaching is like doing individual coaching back when I used to stream more. People would sign up to do coaching sessions. To be honest, I'm not big on individual coaching, I guess. At least I wasn't back then. I guess if I'm on a competitive team and let's say like a team asks me to do coaching, it would almost have to be lane specific coaching. I don't think, to be honest, I'm not that good at like draft logic and everything, but I am pretty good at my lane, right? I can play top lane and I play a lot of weird stuff, and I like trying a lot of different matchups. So if there's one coaching role I could do well, it would be positional coaching. I think I could do that really well, and I'd be like a good 1v1 partner since I'm obviously still good enough at the game to do that. So if someone offered me a coaching position, and if I was confident about it, it would be positional coaching. I don't think I'd want to be a head coach right now. I'd have to, study up a little bit more on all the lanes of draft, because when it comes to draft, I know what to do in my own lane and I know my own pick and what they could pick. But when it comes to
draft for like junglers, and
yeah,
stuff like
when it comes to everything else, my extent of it is like I know what the power picks are. I'm not, a good enough thinker to think about the entire draft.
So, because I know you were on Twitter talking about the ping issue for the NALCS. So, since you're actually a pro player, I'm gonna have you explain it to the viewers who will watch this on the replay too. Why is having that amount of ping, 60 ping for NA, difficult for NA to actually improve? Because most people just take the ping thing as a joke. It's like, well, NA wasn't good when the server wasn't closer to California anyway, so why does it really matter if it's, now you're playing on 60 ping? Like, couldn't you just work on macro strats? And to be fair, like, NA does need better macro strats, but the way I heard people explain it before is like, if you have lower ping, you're able to do different combos and different things on your champions, but with higher ping, you can't. Is that true?
Well, personally, I'm on the side of keeping the servers where they are right now. I would die on a hill to never let them move it back to LA, because I've talked about this with some other pros, and it's a big it's obviously a huge conversation topic for a lot of professional players. Like, we can't get better with this kind of ping. But if you move servers to LA, like, you're kind of alienating the entire East Coast back to like 80 to 100 ping, which is just a horrible decision because NA already has player base issues. And if you're trying to move it back to LA, more people are going to stop playing. They're especially going to be less people in high elo. So the queue times are going to get worse and worse. It's going to be a whole different problem, like a really big problem. And I do, when I was in LA, I do notice the difference between 60 ping and the 30 ping I have here in Georgia, but I really didn't think like this 60 ping is hindering me, because in my opinion, at least for solo queue for me, is just to try out stuff, like, and just keep up with the game, while scrims are the main place where I'm trying to learn new champions and improve. That's just my logic to it. Maybe some people have a different view of solo queue, but the improvement for me comes from pretty much entirely scrims. And so that's why I never, when I hear ping arguments, like I would always vouch for it to stay where it is and not move it back to LA. But I do think that obviously if you had 9 ping in LA, pros would get better, because how could you not get better if you're playing on 9 ping compared to 60, 60 to 63? It's just, you're going to have better quality games because your reaction time will matter more. So no doubt it would help, but there would come with repercussions. Too big of repercussions. Yeah,
because by how the league geographical thing stats work for America, 2/3 of the world's population, on the United States at least, it's like 2/3 are on the East Coast. So it's just not viably smart to put the server closer now. It makes no sense now.
It'd have too big of a repercussion on the East Coast player base to ever move it back. And a lot of people say maybe you could do the like servers that just to connect to who's closest. Like, you have 2 servers, right? You have an East Coast and a West Coast server. And then let's say you have 7 West Coast players and 3 East Coast players. It'll connect to the West Coast, right? Since that's where the only problem I have with that is a lot of people, especially pros, arguments are you get inconsistent practice playing on 9 ping on scrims, and then you play on 60 on live. But then why would you suggest to have alternating servers? Because wouldn't you just be coin flipping who's in your lobby, and then some games you'll have some games you'll have 60 ping and some games you'll have 9? Because that to me is the logical fallacy in that argument, because their main argument is inconsistent practice. But if you did the 2 servers, you would also have inconsistent practice. So I don't know.
So then I wanted to ask, like, as opposed to, like, do you think so, like, we see LPL, LCK, and even EU, they have this, like, huge farm system, right? And I don't think we have that same sort of like they can literally pick out of I don't know 1,000 people the Shy or the next LWX. How can we like I guess get it into our high schools or collegiate level better so that we can find our next talent? Because like look at Danny, he's turned out pretty decent. I would say.
Well, it's tough to say because it's not like if we're being realistic, League of Legends in North America has has like a player base, but it's not as big as everything else.
That's just PC culture in general.
Yeah.
It's not popular here.
Well, it's still a big game. We can't say that we're growing at an exponential rate, right? And if anything, like League is either stalemating or going down in player base in NA. And so there is no real answer to that. Like, what are you going to do? Inject bots into the game that are just crazy so that we can practice against them,
right?
Unless there's some way to reinvigorate the MOBA player base of NA, because I think just in general in North America, like we have phases of games, like along when I was in middle school, there was the MMO phase. Everybody was playing Guild Wars and WoW and all sorts of MMOs. Then you had your MOBA phase. A lot of people were playing Han, Dota, League of Legends. Then there was the Battle Royale phase, right, with Fortnite and H1Z1 and PUBG. I think just the culture here, we switch a lot of games. So I have no real answer on how to find new talent, because people are just going to play League if they're interested. And I don't see a way that Riot just all of a sudden increases our player base by like another 1 million players, unless League of Legends 2 comes out and it's the best advertising scheme of all time.
Saba Uvigas asks, but how is geolocation-based queue not a thing? Valorant and most FPS games do that. You talking about just like a state type of queue thing? Like your state has its own server? I think that'd be terrible, wouldn't it?
Well, a thing you have to think about when it comes to server-based queues is that League of Legends is at least in my opinion, is more ping dependent than Valorant, because the Valorant movement is all client side, and so you can press your WASD, and no matter what ping you're on, you're going to see the movement on the screen like the same. But with League, if you're right clicking on 10 ping, you're going to notice that you go faster than right clicking on 60 ping. So like you would notice a big difference on like which server you got on. Like, okay, I got on LA server and I'm living in LA. I right click and I'm moving right away. Okay, I got on an East Coast server. I right click. I'm delayed. So, and that wouldn't happen in Valorant, because no matter what server you're on, the only thing that is like the movement is client side and not server side, other than what you see on the enemy team or the shots.
Okay. Now that we move into the LCS 2021 Summer Split Week 2, we had those benchings. Sven getting benched for King, Alfari getting benched for Jenkins. What did you think about those roster moves, actually?
The Alfari one, I guess both came as a shock, right?
They really did, yeah.
They both did well. I don't have any information on why they did what they did. That being said,
just general thought,
Yeah, I think King is pretty good, and
I think he's pretty good too. Yeah,
he's probably one of the best ADs in Academy, so he does deserve to play LCS. Does Sven not deserve to play in LCS? I don't know. It not based on his play, right? He plays well. Same with Alfari, and
yeah,
I mean, to be honest, it's whack that they did what they did, but I couldn't say they had to have done it for a reason, right? And hopefully a good reason. So
yeah, and I tell people this, man, we're never ever gonna know the full story. Like, dude, I've been watching League of Legends since 2014. I've heard these stories before. You always hear it from 3 different perspectives: the person doing the benching, the org who did it, and the org's always gonna tell you a story that makes them look good at the end of the day. Or it's not going to put out a story that says, yeah, we benched Alfari because he was being mean to us. They're not going to say that.
Yeah, of course not. And even if that was the case, like, it's just, we'll never know what was said or, how
the context of what it said,
Hopefully it wasn't as simple as Alfari said something mean to me. Hopefully it isn't that simple. Hopefully there was some more nuance to it that actually made it serious. But
you'd like to think a team with a Korean bot laner, a European mid and top laner, and then jungle is Santorin, also European.
Yeah.
Like, there's enough like I would think just European hard-headedness on that crew where like they just tell each other, hey, that play was shit, and they'll be like, yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I'll figure it out.
I'd be shocked. I'd be absolutely befuddled if it was as simple as, yeah, this guy said something mean to me, so I didn't want to play.
I think it's
got to be more than that, right?
I think it is. It's just, it feels weird to me because one viewpoint is that they're putting the, like, for King and for Jenkins, they're putting them out to, potentially sell them going into like the off season or something like that. And I'm just like, are you trying to make sure the recency, their memory of these players is closer to the off season? Because unless like the teams themselves, at least specifically for Cloud9, because I think this is a much more likely situation because the flaky, the ridiculous, the tweets and everything around Alfari make it much more seem like there's an actual like attitude or motivation problem or something like that.
Right.
I end up sitting there going like, well, wouldn't you want to have like the whole like summer split to like really make sure the team synergize?
Oh, yeah, your internet is actually trying to actively work against you. For like
I believe it. I get this time with Alarm and it ruins everything. But I just feel like it's a weird thing. It's like I would sooner put it. It's weird. I feel like they've just maybe decided if they're trying to sell these academy players into the offseason, like, when's the best option? Non-spring when we're getting our initial synergies, but let's do it in summer when the synergies are basically established. We put them in for half the split to show off King's talent and Jenkins' talent. We bring back in our star players of Sven and Alfari, and now we're sitting there at Worlds. We're making great contention because we all could probably agree that C9 and Cloud9 are both going to Worlds unless something tragic happens. Yeah. And then they've got, let's just sell King and Jenkins for like $6 million a piece to like FlyQuest and Golden Guardians or something.
I can see that happening, but I feel like if that's what they have to do is to move them into LCS, then maybe Academy is not doing as the job that it should be doing, right? I feel like you shouldn't have to put your team's win rate and how they do in the LCS split at risk just to show off players. That makes me feel like people, especially people who are scouting, aren't watching Academy at all. Because if they were, they would already know how good King and Jenkins is.
Well, yeah, they would. But like, if we go back to like back when Elitist United was going, Veteran was like the loudest voice and probably still is the loudest voice of how horrible the scouting is. And LS has his own commentary on that. So it's one of those where I'm reminded of, I forget which discussion this was, but it was like having, I think it was Deficius saying this, having just even a single split in the LEC was more valuable than any time in the ERLs.
Right.
And I feel like the same thing would be true for an LCS experience.
Yeah.
Because you could speak to that as being from an amateur and academy position of going like, okay, how much more like of a learning curve is it to get into the LCS compared to anything that happens in academy or even amateur?
Yeah. I'd say definitely putting yourself into LCS gives you a much bigger platform, right? Way more people watch it, and there are many people who just don't barely even know that Academy exists. Well, true. At all. Every time you go into Academy chats or something, it's like you'll find a bunch of viewers go like, and then they'll ask like, where's some LCS player? And then people have to explain to them that it's
watch the TSM game. They're like, where's Pearson at?
Yeah. It's like, what? Yeah. It's like, so I swear, even at this point, there are a lot of people that don't even know Academy exists still.
Well, yeah. So, that's where I get your point on the views thing, like getting eyes on these players by putting them on the LCS teams. I'm also just kind of trying to echo the progression of a player's ability, and their talent and their understanding of the game at the highest possible level they can get, at least, in their region.
Right.
So that's where I could see that as another positive, but I don't think it would be the foundational like motivation for dropping Sven or Alfari to bring up LCS talent.
Right. I guess, and like you mentioned earlier, that pretty much no matter what at this point, TL and C9 are probably going to go to Worlds, right? So if there are any team in the entire LCS that can risk their win rate
exactly, yeah,
with a new player to show them off, it would be TL and C9. So I can see the logic from their side that if that is their goal to show them off and then sell them, then those are probably the only two teams that can afford to do that.
Well, they reserve an option, and it's not happening this way, but they reserve like a fiscal long-term option to sandbag part of the summer split.
Right.
Because, like, you know, I can just turn these sandbags into money bags with these LSC, with these academy players that are going to come up. And, like, you know, Jenkins is like, I didn't even know he existed, but he's been doing like really good stuff there topside. And King's been, it feels like there's just a slightly more aggressive AD carry on Cloud9 now. Otherwise, I don't see any consistency issues yet coming out of him.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely one way to go about it. You know, you might make some of your fans mad, but maybe if you're securing the bag, right?
Jack's probably really happy about that. It's like Jack builds up academy players, sells them all for a lot of money. It took a while for teams in the LCS to realize, wait a minute, if we build up our own academy players, then we could promote that guy instead of selling him. I mean, it's genius, right?
You secure the bag, but you make some people mad along the way. What would you do?
But it's like the Team Liquid Alphari thing is a bit different than the Cloud9 thing. Because I feel like at some point, maybe Sven could come back, though. By how Team Liquid tweeted about Alphari and by how they've explained certain things, I don't really feel like Alphari's coming back anytime soon.
Yeah, it seems... Well, I know most pro players, especially like the big ones that have got imported into LCS, they really don't like the idea of playing an academy, right?
It's death.
They see playing an academy as like an insult to their play, right? Like, you know, how could you put me in here? And so a lot of them would refuse to play outright, like at all. It's just, okay, you want to play me in academy? No, I won't. So, and I've seen it before, right? From a lot of
So I actually wanted to ask this because I know a lot of people, they speak in, it boiled, you know how people say something completely broad, no context, nothing. So when someone says, we need to develop our academy players, right? I'm thinking to myself, okay, let's just say you had a kid, right? Let's say you had a daughter and she needed to learn, I don't know, ballerina. You would go find a person that knows how to teach your kid ballerina, but you'd have to find a person specifically who can teach her the best. When I'm hearing people talk ballet, right? Yeah. So
it's ballet.
When you're going out to find someone who can teach your kids something, I need to know exactly who's teaching them, because when someone speaks about developing academy players, they're like, let's just develop academy. That is super broad. Who specifically develops these players? I want to know names, because that's not how you develop people. One head coach is not going to develop 5 people. One assistant coach is not going to do that. You know, like as you said before, positional coach, who develops these players? Because I think Revenge said in a show he did with I Will Dominate, he didn't really have any coaching material. It was pretty much, you know, some people just told him, hey, go watch some scrims or go watch this. It's like, that's not developing anything. So no one's getting developed, you know?
To be honest, that interview from Revenge is probably just his experience on FlyQuest, because I'd say taking that and then saying all of Academy had no help is probably not true.
Yeah, that's just as broad as the other thing. Yeah.
That was hit. Yeah.
That ends up falling on. I'm sorry. This kind of goes into the discussion of like, should like coaches or leadership within these orgs be speaking out more? Because the worst PR element is that Revenge puts out like his anecdotal evidence, which is just anecdotal, like that helps like curve just how much anyone should take it seriously across like the whole population. But no one's really coming out and like curtailing or countering that, like saying, hey, over here in EG, because I have the impression EG from a recent SI interview with Infinite or Everest, I forget his name right now.
It was like Empire. Is that his name?
Empire. Yeah. Empire was on, and between Peter Dunn's there, Kelsey Moser, and what Empire is talking about, sounds like EG are getting themselves going on developing talent, so they're not getting locked out from with these contract jailed situations with academy talent or amateur talent.
Right.
So
like I said, I feel like what Revenge said can be true for him, and I wouldn't doubt. Like I don't see why he'd just say that and not have it be true. That sounds like something that could happen, but I wouldn't say take that and go, oh yeah, Revenge didn't have coaching on academy to just let him do whatever he want.
Because everyone on C9 says they're always well coached in academy. They treat their kind of players really well. So, it just depends on your situation and your way of going about it.
That was just his experience with FlyQuest. And while I'm sure pretty much all academy coaching and staff is under understaffed compared to LCS. Like more often than not, you'd probably just have one coach helping you on academy, while LCS will have their 3 positional coaches, their head coach, their analyst, right?
Chef.
I've seen that happen before, where it's just, you got your one coach and then the LCS have all sorts of analysts and staff to help them. So that happens a lot. I guess, and then at that point, it just depends on the coach you have, right? Do you have a brand new coach who still needs to learn how to go through the ropes, or do you have some kind of veteran that's been around for forever? For example, like C9 had a lot of success with West Rice, right? Where he was maybe the singular coach on C9, but he had a lot of experience in the past. So I think it depends on who you hire, and I think it will be easier as the years go on, because more and more pro players will retire and more pro players will turn to coaching. So, and I think the future of coaching is pretty much all retired pro players who have had a lot of experience, because they don't have to go through that phase where they're still learning the ropes, right? They've been here and they've done that. So
there's even a phase where like the head coach has to like get the players on his vision too. Like a general pro player being retired doing that obviously doesn't have the same let's say the same route as I would take. Cause like if a random guy is like, hey, now you guys have to all listen to me. This is my vision on how to play the game, and let's see what we can do. That's probably not going to happen. Because I know that back in the day, that was a problem a lot of people had. Is like random people would come in, try to coach in a team full of 5 players who know how to play the game, telling them what to do, and it just didn't work out at all.
Maybe it's an ego thing, but it does happen. Like, let's say you have a coach and it's some like silver or gold player in league, but they're a coach, right? And so you're this guy trying to coach like 5 challenger players, right? So that's a tough thing with coaching, is you have to be able to be someone who can teach 5 challenger players something new about league, and that's tough.
That's probably hard.
That's tough.
So what's the percentage for challenger players? Isn't it like the top like 1% is challenger, right?
It's like something pretty low.
That's crazy.
It's like top 0.0. Like for me, okay, I'm ranked 83 right now, and it says 0.005.
That is crazy. That is insane.
So it's when considering coaching, and I've had this problem a lot with coaches, is like, is this guy going to teach me something new, or is he just going to be saying stuff I already know?
So going off of the coaching thing, how do you feel, this topic got brought up earlier, right? With the imports. Do you think the import, like how do you feel on that? Like, do you think it should be lifted? Do you care? Like, what's your standpoint on that?
I think letting like everyone import 5 imports for it would kind of kill the region. Like a lot of at least if you're thinking about the region's future and viewership, maybe it would increase the skill of the region, and in fact it probably would, right? We would probably get better, but NA is already having some trouble, especially when Bjergsen and Double Lift left. NA has some trouble retaining viewership, because most people who watch NA are not in it for the incredible display of talent, but more they want to watch their favorite players play the game. And so that's why we saw such massive decreases in viewership when the most popular players in NA aren't playing anymore, such as Double Lift and Bjergsen. So what happens when you take a team and they replace like the local NA talent to all imports? Like, especially a lot of people would think they'd replace them with just like, some Chinese or Korean challenger players that are willing to play for anything. I feel like NA viewership would just go so far down, and that's like a risk Riot would never take. So we can talk about it, but I don't think it would ever happen in a million years. Because
what about adding in an extra import slot instead of having it be 2, it'd be 3? You think that would make a significant difference?
I still think that would make a pretty big difference.
Like, you end up with a legitimate majority. You would just end up with like a 3 Korean and then 2 NA teams. At that point, it's like, I don't know. You have to end up deciding what 2 roles do we care the least about.
If you care about the longevity of competitive League of Legends as in NA, then you would never encourage the import rule. If you want to see immediate like skill difference,
they winning worlds.
If you wanted that, then maybe you could vouch for it. But if you want to see League of Legends continue to be played in NA,
because the other argument is, well, if NA actually lifted the import rule when like the owners were asking it, and the results are good, the viewership would increase potentially. But that's like you're still betting, like you know how people take risks on their rosters, like you know, like Ocelot taking a risk on Perks, IG taking a risk on Rookie. That's still a risk. That's still a gamble. There's no guarantee, and they would like be like, you know, winning worlds or winning MSIs just because you have an extra import player. I believe import players have made the region better. Like the best import players are foreigners like Bjergsen, Jensen, players like that someday, right? Core JJ, Impact, X-Smith. Well, Smithy's not really from here.
X-Smithy's not an import. He's an
I forgot. Was it Canada, right?
No, he was from the Philippines, but you know, he grew up playing the.
Oh yeah, you're right. Mm-hmm. So it's basically like I get both arguments, because like the imports have made the region better to a certain degree, but with other regions like the LCK and the LPL, they brought up their regional talent to actually be at the level of their imports, so it's not really that big of a gap. The LCS owners could potentially think, well, if I have a guy like Jensen, then there's another guy on my team who's not at the same level. Okay, having Jensen is the difference, right? But that's not really the case, though. We need to have the local talent at the same level of the import players, you know?
Yeah, and it's going to be harder in A because we have just a lower player base, and
we're just going to hire Warren. That's what we're going to do.
and in my opinion, and this goes to what you were saying, like, you know, earlier, is that NA, at least I view NA as kind of like more of an entertainment region right now.
Jersey Shore.
Yeah, it's an entertainment. So, and I was saying most people watch NA to have, you know, to be entertained. I don't think anyone watches NA right now like to expect LPL and LCK level talent and you know, deep intricate gameplay. People watch NA to have fun.
You don't get that from watching CLG?
I guess you don't, but you know, I just think we have to kind of stick with what we've got going on right now, and then maybe the infrastructure of
and maybe
NA,
that's the identity of NA. Maybe it's honestly because like NA's always tried to be someone else. It's nice to have and be your own thing, you know? Maybe that'll get viewers back, because like back then, dude, NA used to get viewers for free. I remember like TSM COG attaining like 300K viewers on Twitch. The YouTube viewership was like 407K. Like, you know, and it's always tried to be someone different. I think it's good to have this identity where you can be your own thing, you know, minus being an import region.
Right. I would really hate to be viewed as an import region personally, but
right. It wouldn't be fun.
Even if that is what we are right now, at least, you know, at least we're keeping some integrity.
Because someone was like, well, doesn't Cloud9, TL, and TSM all have imports? Kinda. And then it's like also in a technicality form because it's also green cards. So yes, it is true. And then 100 Thieves is pretty much all imports.
Yeah, well, they are now, right?
So to be fair, that was the other big argument, was like, well, to be fair, all our top teams have imports on them anyway.
Yeah.
That's true, and I can't deny that, because like even when it comes up to like games like FlyQuest and Golden Guardians games, those games and that kind of content on YouTube doesn't do well like Cloud9, TSM, and Team Liquid's or 100 Thieves. You know, it just doesn't. Yeah. There's just no viewers for that. And the NA fan base, because we were having the conversations on here, some of the people were like, well, you know, why don't the NA coaches all like, why isn't people just develop the talent here, right? It's like, but most of the NA fan base here doesn't even care about the talent here. Like, if you look at some of the numbers of the academy games, it's ridiculous. It's a joke, right?
Compared to the ERL, like what was it? The French ERL finals got like more 150K viewers, like something crazy.
Yeah.
It's something like crazy, like more than the LCS, and that just goes to show, right? Academy finals 5K viewers.
It's just like the people here who complain about NA not bringing up talent don't even watch the scene that has the NA talent in there. That's kind of contradictory, don't you think? Like, it just depends, you know.
It's because there's a loop of you'll ask these same people. So okay, you're complaining about NA talent, but you don't even watch it, and then they'll say, "Oh, because we suck." Right, so it'll be that loop. Like, why would I watch us if we suck? And then why do you know? But no one cares. So,
well, you're listening to the people that are only busy enough to like make the complaints all the damn time.
Right.
It's like I'm sorry, I'm like 29. I have a full-time job. I have a fiance. I have things that I care about, and like yelling about certain things that like I don't have time to yell about things when I also understand like the deep, like I understand that there is a deep, intricate nature to building up even just the player base, like trying to have something that makes the player base like viable or something like that. The only thing I see that could actually really work, and I think Riot has really helped esports in a broad context by creating these in-client tournaments with Clash. But it kind of ends up coming down to like, are these viable career paths going in as coaches or analysts or just even just players, really? Like the moment you start creating a very constant competitive environment that pushes people towards becoming players in that game, specifically with League here, then you end up with, who knows, a better solo queue experience. You end up with a larger player base because there's more heroes to chase after, more hero ship to strive for. Right. The idea, and I'm remembering this with just how Bottleneck in the early years with the Overwatch League felt like, but like the path to pro was not clear. It was like get top 500 and know some people, or just make friends with other pros online, and then hope you get a tryout and run it. Right. And I can't say for sure that's like how like League is right now, because now they have a lot of these amateur teams and tournaments and stuff like that.
I think it's gotten better over the years.
Yeah, definitely. But you need to have like, what's a good motivate? Like you just need to have a good, I guess, economic, cultural benefit. Is like, why would I, care to put 100 hours a week into this game? It's like, well, you do this right, you have a career. Like and you'll be one of the highest paid players like in the world, with like China, Korea maybe beating out the market. Right. So like, that's kind of where I think like the team's doing the developmental elements of the whole ecosystem just ends up.
Or even just in the off season. Remember in the off season, like what was the biggest thing in the off season was Perks joining Cloud9, at least for NA, right? Bjergsen retiring, Dove retiring. Nobody cared about the random NA players that went on Golden Guardians. I'm sorry, And
if they did have comments on it, it's like, wow, 10th place.
It was like everyone cared. That's my thing with what the kind of audience is like. Those people complain about NA talent not being here, but it's like these are the same people that were clamoring for Perks, Alfari, Doublet, and Bjergsen when they were like retiring and Perks and Alfari joining the league. It's like you can't have it both ways. It's like you gotta understand, like like these players are probably really good, but if you want your general talent to be good locally, you have to also give the same energy back too. If the actual people developing the talent goes, okay, if these guys suck, if they think they suck, the fan base thinks they suck, what's the point of promoting them? That makes it's.
Well, we're stuck in a loop. I'm telling you.
Self-defeating mentality. Yeah.
Get rid of the negative thought waves. Just kick them out. I mean,
fan base.
Like stop reading Reddit and believing that it's like legitimate narratives.
Reddit is cancer. You know what? I posted a show on Reddit. This guy told me that we provided no analysis as we're literally breaking down a draft. I'm like, Reddit is a place full of morons. I hate that place, dude. Oh my god. But
I'm reminded of. Go ahead, Warren.
I was curious to like, how do you feel about? Even though C9 went 3-7, how do you feel about their performance at MSI?
Thanks for the shade, Warren. He knows I'm a Cloud9 fan. He just about it just for shade purposes.
Well, I felt that definitely Perks underperformed, right? And I think most people would agree with that. That being said, I think everybody was pretty excited that Fudge was doing really well, and I think because of that, obviously winning MSI would have been nice, even though that's a pretty tall task for us.
Aiming high there, bud. Aiming pretty high there, bud. But
aiming really high. I think improving upon like the one that needed to improve the most and having him show up big on MSI is a pretty good sign for the future.
Yeah.
So at least that I'm not going to say like, C9 didn't do well, so they're not going to do well at Worlds. Only time will tell.
So I think he's been given a cheat code, but there is a prediction over in the church that like Fudge will be one of the best top laners like in North America by Worlds. Right. How do you feel about like Fudge's trajectory, or even just like something that could either be reasonable or even lofty, coming out of at least LS's camp for Fudge being the best top laner in the league?
it's probably true that he'll be up there. That being said, I do think if you look at it from the entire history of people who join already top teams, is that they improve fast, right? They're a new player. Yeah, they're a new player, all playing with like the best in the region. How can they not improve fast, right? They're surrounded by people that are going to just keep them improving no matter what. And even if they don't improve that much, they're still going to be like at the top of the league. Right?
So are we just identifying your greatest challenge in your career? Just,
I mean, it's tough, right? Because people can ask, like, what would, like, let's say the roles had swapped and Niles was on C9 and Fudge on GGS. Like, would Niles be like crazy right now and Fudge would be on, 10th place team?
Or would you look at contracts? Contracts went to C9 for that 2017 year, went to Golden Guardians. You'll know the exact difference. That's all I need to say. If anybody watched that year and the year afterwards, you'll know the difference between being on a top tier team and a bottom tier team.
We'll take a look at Licorice, and he was on C9. Yeah. A lot of people thought he was the best top laner in the region.
Yeah, he was the best for like
portion,
3 years straight. Yeah. He was really good.
And now that he's on FlyQuest, a lot of people put Licorice on like the bottom half.
Like 6th, 7th place. That's
Yeah, it would be not true. It would be insincere of me to say like, okay, yeah, Fudge is bad. He's just being boosted by his team, which is it's not true. Fudge is good, right? Fudge is good, but you always have to wonder like how much of that is you have these players that join an already really good team, and so it's a lot easier for them. And even Licorice has spoken about this before in interviews that after leaving C9, he feels a big difference on going from on a team that's almost guaranteed to be top 3 to a team that he has to step up a lot more and put in a lot more leadership effort.
Yeah, I would contend he's having the year 1 of the current Mad Lions thing where Humanoid like last year was having to do a lot of to really like get that team together. Just get used to that. Sorry, Alarm. And then once the rest of the team started getting those hard concepts like just ingrained into how they play, now you see Humanoid actually really showing up as like one of the top young talents out of EU. And so my hope for in the optimistic side for Licorice is that he's having to work with that with getting the rest of the team on the same page or getting the rest of the team up to what he knew as top tier play over at C9, and it's just really hampering his ability to be clearly mechanically proficient or just be what he used to be. Who's decided on that team? Like, what are they playing around? Are they playing around like carry top side, even though, and because that looks to be viable like across the globe. He knows how to play Camille. I mean, he's been a carry top laner before, but has the team like agreed? Because if he's taking a leadership role, does that mean he ends up doing like the Bjergsen thing of over sacrificing what he could be and ends up just playing for the team so much so that he can't flex like he
the only person sacrificing on FlyQuest is Diamond's Rel because that man was running it down.
At the end of the day, what I want to talk about, like when we were discussing whether Fudge would be the best top laner in the league or not, if we look at the entirety of C9's history of top laners, was there a single top laner on C9's history where you wouldn't put them in top 3? Like you've got Fudge, then Licorice, Impact, Ray, and Balls. At the time, at their peak in the league, you would probably have put every single one of those players somewhere in the top 3 of top laners in NA.
Yeah.
So by that standard, Fudge will probably and probably is right now in that top 3.
Especially after MSI.
So Lauren, I kind of to piggyback off that, like, there's been this whole thing about between NA, EU, the whole rookie thing, but now we're seeing that veterans are still like, still can do it. Like, look at Otawamne. He's been in the league almost 6 years, but he's performing at a high level on Rogue. Like, are orgs taking too much of a value in these rookies and forgetting that there's still good veterans that can play at a high level?
I mean, obviously, for me, I think I'm older, right? I would like to play in the LCS again. I think I still play well, and I think I still improve every year in every split. So I do think that it would be dumb to discount someone just because they've been playing for a long time. I think what you need to look at is not how old someone is or how long they've been playing, but how much effort they still put in, right? I think burnout is a real thing, and that is a real problem with older players. And if that's the case, then yeah, like maybe it's time to start looking at newer players. But if someone is still putting in the effort, and you can still clearly see them improve, and they're actively trying to get better and put work toward the team, then I don't see why you would discount them from any consideration. At least, you would consider them for your roster. That being said, like we're NA's in this phase where we lost Worlds last year in a really bad fashion. So everybody kind of panicked, and it's like, oh God, we out with the old, in with the new, fast.
You know how like people criticize Europe for being the region that, oh yeah, you guys just want to take little small guys and put them in the league and maybe see some diamonds in the road, right? Well, isn't NA doing that too? Like,
no, we're doing that right. We did that.
Doing literally right now. Like, I don't see why people criticize each other. Like, I get it. Like, Europe takes a player at E around, thinks they're going to be the next Caps. Isn't that what EG just did with Denny? Potentially, he's going to be the next Caps when they brought up a new guy. It's not about the idea of what they could be. It's like bringing up a good player in general, But you want to assess like how good this player is. Like, is he really going to be a beneficiary toward the team, though? Because that's my thing with roster moves, dude, is that if you cut someone and you don't really get an upgrade out of it, I think that's a waste of time. If you didn't really get anything out of it, any better results, any better team play, any better macro decisions, you didn't really actually do anything. You just kind of swap someone out,
Yeah, it's just at that point, like when you're replacing someone, you can't give them, one split. Sometimes it would take them 2 splits to fully show their potential. So
I'm thinking with Immortals right now, actually.
So yeah, it's Immortals have gotten a lot better on the second split compared to the first split, and that's a good example that you.
It's that Xerxes diff.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's a tough thing to talk about, and in hindsight, it's so easy to say like, why'd you put in this player here? He sucks. When you could have just gone in. For example, a lot of people were like, why'd you put in Nihilus when you could have just had Solo in from the beginning? Well, they tried it out, right? It didn't work out.
Yeah, everything's a risk,
Yeah.
Actually, we'll be talking about Immortals right now. Your old org, actually, because we're gonna go into the LCS standings and maybe make this a little bit bigger for you guys. As you guys already know, Cloud9 went 3-0 this week. So did 100 Thieves. TSM bounced back. They went 1-2. TL also went 1-2, right?
2-1.
2-1. Immortals. So we'll talk about them since they're actually your old org. They actually lose all their games, didn't they?
They went 3-0 the first week, right?
Yes, true. Yes.
Yeah.
And they went 0-3 this week. Oh my God. So what did you think about Immortals play this week, Alorum?
I mean, Immortals, obviously right now we can call them the coin flip after going 3-0 and then 0-3. Obviously they've gotten better. I think it's important for Immortals at this point, because when I was on Immortals the whole time, there were just so many roster swaps. I think it's good, at least, that they're keeping relatively consistent, and the only changes they made is Pretty and Insanity, which I didn't think that was a good choice, because I'm a big believer in consistency of roster and staying as like a unit the entire split, because I've experienced too much roster swapping to be a fan of it. So I would have liked them to be a little bit more consistent and just keep Insanity in and keep going for that, but they're all right? They're better than they were last split. I think all of them, especially Xerxes
and Raze have massively stepped up, haven't they?
Yeah, so it's good to see that they're revitalized from the previous split.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
That is the only thing that I think has ruffled them, is that they bring in was it Yasui in for Insanity?
No, Pretty in for
Pretty.
Pretty.
Yasui
Okay.
is Dignitas.
Dignitas, okay, yeah. I don't like I don't like changing out mid laners like that. I just don't like what it's done to both teams, because it feels like you could see the dyssynergy just watching the game.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of it either, but I guess
it's one of these things where, like, you know how we just talked about certain moves getting traction and others didn't. Besides, like, people like us and like very few smaller people who really cared that Dignitas switched out Soligo for Yasui. That did not get the same traction like Alfari did, or Sven did for Cloud9.
Well, we're not even. If you want to have like an argument about clout, like the clout flow and whatnot, sure. Like, well, yeah. If you want to care about like, because that's all you're trying to measure on that discussion is just clout chasing. It's more of like, what's the literal freaking point of putting in Yusui or
I can see a difference.
What was the other guy's name? Sparkle.
Oh, Yusui over Saligo.
Yeah, Yusui over Saligo, and what was it was
Pretty
Sparkle over Pretty for Insanity. Sparkle Pretty. It all sounds. But yeah, I don't get it because like we've already discussed like possible fiscal reasons that TL and Cloud9 might put out Jenkins and King. Jenkins and Alfari seems more like a drama reason than a fiscal reason. But like I don't. Like I'm fascinated, and I'd probably just start hunting for like willing interviews. But like, hey, so I see you've done this, and I'd like to ask you what the fuck, because like Dig's been overperforming the whole year. IMM look like they may just make themselves like contending for upper end of middle pack just because they've gotten themselves together. Why, that's Ryan up.
So my thing with Dignitas is I think if they move on from Aframo and Dardoch after this year, I think they're gonna look a lot worse. Because like you can literally see the impact Dardoch, specifically Dardoch has on the team, especially Aframo. I don't really see them doing the same without Aframo and Dardoch. If you swapped Aframo and Dardoch out right now for Dignitas and you just kept the other three players and put a new jungle, a new support in, obviously that would make a difference, but it's just the fact that they have this impact on the team. Last week, I think Dardoch blew his summoners like level 1 for an invade, and then instead of actually farming, he just mind gamed the other opponents, and he just started ganking the whole game. We saw the Rumble game he had against FlyQuest. I think when people talk about MVP players, I actually had Dardoch as my MVP last split because I thought he actually really was an MVP candidate because if you take Dardoch off that team right now, I don't think they're actually even as good as they are. Like, are they?
No, I feel you put any other jungler, even a great jungler in there, and it just feels like a much more vanilla team. And I think Afromu, because he has a history of motivation issues that I hear of. I think Afromu ends up being his best self when he actually has someone that he can coach. I think Afromu will be like either I could see him as a future coach. I just think he has that about him. I kind of attribute Johnson being under the tutelage of Aframo being the reason looked so good last year. And I kind of attribute Aframo and then Dardoch somehow finding like this good parent couple. I don't know. I'm pretty sure Dardoch's like the abusive parent and Aframo is it's like, just do these things and dad won't be mad. But they end up getting these three rookies to get on the same page and go all in. Like, it's like, guys, dice is being rolled here. Like, we have no reason to play shy, to play scared. Like, let's go. And I just, I really would want to like have verification of that somehow. That's what I feel like that the dynamic of that team is. And I'd like to think if they'd have kept the roster together, we'd be seeing those heights pushed continually. And maybe I believe the narrative that they're running on the LCS right now is they stop being a pretender and start like being a real contender. They're nothing more than just 5 dudes picking the same wall to bash their heads against, and then it wins, as opposed to 5 dudes, 5 different walls.
Because last split when we were discussing, because for our all pro teams, most of them had Blabber and Dardoch, right? But my argument is Blabber has significantly better players to work with. No shade to these guys, but let's be honest here. Blabber has significantly better players to work with on Cloud9 than Dardoch has on Dignitas. And the fact that they almost got second place if they had won a few more games last split. They actually almost got second place. And even this split, they're not too far off from hitting 4th. They're 1 game behind TL. There's 2 games behind TSM. They're not too far off from hitting second place with Dardoch and Aframo. So, what do you think about Dignitas Alarm? Do you think they're actually the legitimate team? Because last split, because you know how you have that thing where like a team does well one split and then just completely crumbles the next because the other teams that with the better players just get better. Do you think they'll actually keep up this level of consistent gameplay?
I'm a big fan of Dignitas. I've worked with a lot of them, right?
Okay,
So I believe in their abilities. I will vouch for Dignitas, and I think that they'll continue to improve. I think while again I'm not a huge fan of roster swapping Saligo for Yusui because I felt like Saligo was doing well too. So
I thought he was doing well himself. Yeah,
kind of weird, but other than that, like I think all of their players have been doing really well and have shown improvement. Is the big part. Is not that they're just playing the same way every game and kind of staying like just as another random NA team that plays Teamfight Champs. They have their own distinct style, right? Especially with Dardoch on the team, and we've already talked about his importance to the team. I think seeing that improvement that comes over time from the individuals is a really big thing for me, and I'm a believer in Dignitas. Whether they're going to make Worlds or not is another question, especially over
making
the likes
Worlds,
of Cloud9.
winning Worlds. What are you talking
If they
about?
make it
winning.
to Worlds, I will literally post a picture of me running out in the street naked.
Oh God!
Yeah.
Please make Worlds for that, please.
Yeah,
And
but I can at least
retweets. And
I can at least call Dignitas a good team.
Yeah, finally, yeah, because a lot of people's prediction was that Immortals was going to be what Dignitas are.
Yeah,
but I mean, maybe that could still happen. We're only in week 2. It's very, very possible. Guys, I talk about CLG and Golden Guardians, but there's much better teams to talk about. Let's be honest here. There's Cloud9, who went 3-0, 100 Thieves, who went 3-0. So, what do you guys think about 100 Thieves? Actually, I think they look pretty good. Actually, they beat TSM, they beat Cloud9. Have they faced TL yet? No, they haven't faced TL yet. No. I think they faced TL this week.
Next. Yeah, I was writing down my predictions on my spreadsheet. I'm predicting them to beat TL. I know there were certain ideas that they were going to like just cement their 4th, 5th place or whatnot, and it's like no, I think they're about to outperform TL and TSM in a very significant manner that was not expected. Just because the synergy is just so out the gate, and Abadage is just flexing on all these other picks that just were not, they weren't coming through maybe because it just wasn't meta appropriate back in spring. But when he's clearly flexing over from assassins to supportive to control, it's like, I mean, already you've cemented yourself as like one of the best mid laners like in the league. The level of play that's running it. Go ahead, Warren. Go ahead, Warren. Fight back.
I mean, like this is one of those like, hey, let's hop on the bandwagon. Not you doing it. Like let's hop on the bandwagon. Like I'm sure, like because we saw in like draft for like TSM, like that draft was kind of hot donkey. So like I don't like I think Abadaga is good. I think what 100 T fans should be happy about is that they get in the team that they thought they were getting when they had DeMonte, which is kind of unfair to him, but they did they did roster swaps, and we saw how that worked for them last split too. But hopefully, I would like to see Abadage moving forward. They're mid laner for the years to come, like not like we see a roster swap again. That's kind of my thing. And I can see that they also have different ways of playing the game now. They don't have to rely only on FBI or Someday popping off.
Like, it goes to show you that now 100 Thieves finally has a good mid laner. Now they actually know how that feels. Oh my God, that Ryoma diff that they were trying to go for. What do you guys think about TSM? They actually bounced back and actually got their win against FlyQuest, but that game was no, not FlyQuest. They had their win against I can't remember.
CLG.
CLG. Yeah, they got the win against CLG. It's like yikes. That was a pretty stompish game right there. That was pretty much a stomp, but it's like, I don't know. I don't think they're a bad team at all.
You can't beat CLG and go like, wow, these guys are really good.
yeah. Which feels really bad because it's like, I think we all felt really bad for CLG with how spring went, with how late Broxa got in. And there were some predictions that were running around, and I kind of agreed with them. It's like, yeah, I kind of expect CLG to come in. They've got it together. They've had their time. They've been grinding it out. Sound like they've been working through MSI. And then they come in, it's like, oh gosh, it's still hot garbage. Like, what happened, Broxa? Like, what happened?
Well, they said there. I think Broxa said in a Travis interview that the mindset, it would normally have reset, but the standings don't reset. So they're pretty much going in as like, how would you say it? Like, you already kind of know you're out, but you're still fighting to see what you could possibly do. You're fighting for that miracle run.
Well, the thing is, Nightwing. Like,
yes,
people I'm gonna use this basketball reference. People had the Washington Wizards nowhere. They weren't even nowhere near playoffs, but all of a sudden they made playoffs with like a run. We could see CLG if they win 2 games every week and go 2-1, which can happen, right?
Mhm.
That's a possibility. They could sneak into that, like with the new playoff format, that A spot. So it's not out the.
If that happens, if CLG makes playoffs, I will come on stream and I'll wear a wig and a dress and I'll put on makeup. Actually,
I actually thought CLG would be doing a lot better. Like they were actually picking up a lot toward the
they
end
were
of
actually,
last
yeah,
year.
true.
They look like they should have been in the top 5.
They
top
kind of
6
regressed
maybe.
a little bit.
They were our best,
Yeah.
worst team. They would get like 10,000 gold leads and just randomly throw them for no reason whatsoever, just to throw them.
Maybe they can bring it back.
Because like there was this game we had for Cloud9. This was the only close game Cloud9 played all weekend, which was this game against CLG. Yeah, Broxa actually played pretty well. Overall, I thought he played fine. But this game turns out, I mean, to me, it was just more of a fudge. A Perks difference. Like Perks legitimately just carried this game, because the reason why I told people in the other groups I'm a part of, because they asked me, what isn't C9's comp bad? I think C9's comp is actually pretty bad there, because with CLG's comp and this being a poke comp, C9 has to literally bank on these guys jumping onto them. Like that's kind of a bad draft if you're thinking about it. That's one win condition you have right there. Your win condition is I have to get next to you to fight you. That's pretty bad. Like maybe at surface level analysis, maybe, but that seems pretty bad to me. CLG has much more to work with. Volibear ultimates, Lee Sin kicks, Zoe bubbles, True Shot barrage, Leona ultimates to work with. What does Cloud9 have to work with? Lulu ultimates? That's that's bad. I'm sorry.
Well,
that's terrible.
Yes and no. I mean, because CLG's comp reserves some poke options with the Zoe and with the Ezreal, but then they have 3 all-inners while Ezreal and Zoe kind of have their own agency to run around. Like that's what that team fight feels like when it really breaks down, or if they really want to pick their own fights. Meanwhile, like I guess you could contend there is a good amount of peel from slows, Vulcan's options. Isn't this? Yeah, they threw the game right here at this fight.
Yeah, they had 2.
Yeah, this is where they threw. Yeah, they threw here. Yeah,
Perks out the triple kill, and then later on they have that really close team fight. But before that, they had the fight where Perks killed someone, knocked away 2 of them, just so they could get a Baron of their own. I was like, that's just I don't want to say mid diff, but that's mid diff right there. That's like the Yasuo on the enemy team that's like 7-0, and you're the Yasuo on your game that's like 0-7. Holy moly!
So do you think so then there's a question? Do you think that the fact that they look at their record is just not motivating the players to actually to play at this point, if that's their mindset?
I don't know. I mean,
I think you would hope not, but I think that kind of comes down to like team culture and like the leadership figures that are just like, it's one of those where you almost need to tell them, like, I don't care about the record. I don't care. Like you need to focus on just the winning aspects. And if the team,
if you want to keep your job, you want to play.
Yeah, if you want to keep your job, yeah. If you want to get
if you want to
get like very basic about it, like sure, like it's a perfectly valid statement. And Pobelter just throws right there. I'm sorry, that was the biggest int I saw all weekend. Like you can't have any other mindset or any defeatist mindset if you're going to have any chance of getting anywhere for the season, and let alone just playing, have a job in your career. I have a really big problem if Brox, and I haven't seen that interview, but if Brox is saying that there's a great motivation issue on the team because of the record that they are carrying over from spring. It's like, but you've known what that record was for like 2 months now while we were off doing MSI. Like you have to
actually started practice 2 weeks before? 2 weeks before the.
In any case, you knew what that was. Like you need like, I'm sorry, like the team, someone like you personally is like, either you fight or you die. Like get busy living or get busy dying. So like I have a big problem with the team that looked as good as they did at the end of spring, basically coming into summer and just giving up. It's just you have a chance somewhere in there. You better like fight for that chance. It's not clear that like FlyQuest has had a great improvement in their play. Golden Guardians feels like they are more cohesive.
Oh my god!
Mute him, please.
He's shaving.
Yeah.
He's shaving his face.
Please don't trim your beard while we're trying to do this. I don't know. It just feels super bad. It just feels super bad because like it feels like they could be better than some of the other teams on the lower end.
Right.
What did you guys think about the 100 Thieves versus TSM game? Because that was pretty much the match of the week right there, I guess, for NA.
Let me see.
100 Thieves looking pretty good.
Yeah, it's true.
Abadage played playing all
Faker
sorts
Dage.
playing all sorts of play styles, right? So
Who knew he needed to just jump
honestly,
on to bring it out?
it's kind of the Abadage show right now. And
Dude, hey man, like why don't people?
Ugh.
I watch them give away Akali too much, man. Akali just steals games
Yeah.
just because, like, literally, dude. I don't know if you watched the Fnatic game where Niski was on Lucian against Akali, and he was actually just destroying his opponent. The guy got one good team fight, and Akali just took over. It's like I could dump you the whole game, and you get one team fight and you win. That is not fair.
yeah,
that
she's pretty strong right now.
Gwen and Akali are broken, dude.
Well,
Sorry.
Akali, from the sound of it, has come out of like left field because even in scrims, like Akali was just not getting as far as like it was. The game would not. From the sound of it, scrims would not go late enough that Akali would be able to get online and be the monster that we see her once she gets like mythic or 1 or 2 items, like it's past level 8 or something.
Well, sorry
go
about
ahead.
that.
Go ahead.
I fell out of my chair.
Nice.
Wow.
Sorry about that.
How did you fall out of your chair while shaving? I usually do that.
I'm not
standing up.
shaving. So, anyway, what I was gonna say is 100 Thieves look good, and also take into account that they keep buffing the AP items, like Riftmaker got buffed recently and other items. So these items have made and I think in the next patch, but I'm sure they're not gonna get that patch anytime soon, have made the AP champs even stronger. So, and I think Akali got a buff prior, but nobody paid attention to it. So
Yeah, I heard something
just
like
like how Silas has like slowly since even last year, in the finals has like been a pick, more and more you're seeing because he just got buffs and people just left it off the radar. That's kind of how I feel with the champion, in that sense.
And now we get to the week 3 of the LCS 2021 summer split. Friday. Now you guys put in your predictions. We even have a pro here, so he's putting his prediction too.
Yeah.
So, all right. I'm going.
Put your reputation on the line, or Laura.
I was number 1 on the LCS analyst desk.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah.
This is usually, you don't have to break down why you're picking team. You just go one by one, just one shot. I'm going C9 versus EG. I'm going C9, Team Liquid, TSM, Dignitas, and 100 Thieves. But Lauren, what do you have for this day?
I think I'm the exact same. Looking at the matchups, it's the only game I think you could actually, maybe there's two games where you could say there's a flip, or at least like maybe a chance. Yeah. I think Immortals has a chance to upset TSM, and same with EG to C9. But every other game, I think. So I'm still gonna go C9, TL, TSM, Dig 100 Thieves. But if I had to put money on another team, I'd say Immortals could beat TSM.
Yeah. That's where I go. C9, TL, Immortals, GG, and then 100 Thieves.
Golden Guardians beating Dignitas.
I think Dignitas has been hampered so hard by this mid switch up, unless we get like a last minute announcement that Sully goes back.
That's a fair point.
That's a fair point. Yeah.
I almost expect like the synergisticness that's been kind of apparent in GG over the last at least over the beginning of the split. Them having a small upset over Dig wouldn't surprise me. Go ahead, Warren.
Warren wants to come here. I say TSM because Warren's a TSM.
I'm gonna throw it off for a loop. I'm gonna have EG, TL, TSM, GG, and I want CLG to beat 100G. Actually, I really do.
No
way,
dude.
A mid diff, bro.
That's a mid diff. You saw Perks being a mid diff.
We're about to be 3 weeks in. How many games has Abadage thrown? None. How many has Cobalt thrown?
Oh my god. All right. So Saturday, my picks was Cloud9, EG, TSM, 100 Thieves, and Team Liquid.
Huinlu, yes.
Or maybe Dignitas upset TSM again. Hey, Dignitas did beat TSM in the regular season last split 2 times, actually. So who knows? It might be that Dardoch diff. Dardoch trying to get his revenge against his old team. No one wants Dardoch. Remember, guys? No one wants that guy. So what do you think, Laura? What about this day?
C9. I want to also say that CLG could beat EG.
No, Warren's affecting our pros. No.
The thing is, like, EG have also had like some really rough spots other than Impact, right?
The Impacts look really good. Yeah.
And so I have a feeling that maybe Wild Turtle has been CLG's best player, I'd say. I have a feeling that CLG could upset EG just because Wild Turtle does really well. But, if I had to put money on every game, I'm going to go C9, EG, Dig, 100 Thieves, TL.
Okay. EO, who you got?
C9, CLG, Dig, 100 Thieves, TL. I want to actually like run some sort of stat variant on this. I feel like because of how dense the play schedule is, teams will over prioritize prepping on at least one team, unless they just like choose a basic plan and that's the plan that they try to go for. And so CLG's most important match this week is between EG or 100 Thieves. So either you aim to take out like the top dog out of those that you're fighting, or you aim to take out like the middle dog, and you just look at Dignitas and go like, well, we don't give Kane over to Dardoch. Maybe if we have a chance or something. I don't know. So that's just like my only place. Like it ends up being a question like, who's more likely to throw a game, Jizuke or Pobelter? And that's about
randomly, EG's doing well, and then Jizuke just randomly throws it for them. It
I don't
happened
know,
like
man.
4 different times.
Those Nexus turrets are really hard, man.
All right, Warren, who do you have for Saturday?
The C9, EG, TSM, 1T.
You're gonna say Golden Guardians. I was wanting to say Golden
TL.
Guardians.
I'm not foolish. Not foolish.
All right, Sunday we have our match of the week. Actually, TSM versus Cloud9, our big El Clasico matchup. Warren, you're going down. Warren's going down. My team is gonna clap yours into the dirt. You're going down, dude. You also have another nice one here. TL also facing 100 Thieves. 2 match of the weeks right here on the same day. These are some good games.
Yeah. Sunday is a big day.
That's going to differentiate the league entirely. Like this is going to basically define the narratives for until the next round robin.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. Oh, so the first game, you got to get the bad ones out of the way. Dig versus CLG. Dig, just clean house really quickly. Then we can get to the actual games you want to see. 100 Thieves versus Team Liquid. Ooh, that's doozy. I want to say 100 Thieves wins, but I don't want to say TL would lose either. That bad.
No, I
think 100 Thieves wins this time around.
Yeah.
I would go Dig, 100 Thieves, Cloud9, Immortals, and EG.
Yep.
That's where I would go. Alarm, what would you pick for this day?
Yeah, Dig for sure. I think 100 Thieves. 100 Thieves has shown more consistency than TL. C9, TSM.
It's always the those are always banger games. No matter how many times they play, they're always great.
I'm gonna go TSM on maybe it's one of the days where Perks does not. Yeah,
Alarm is Warren. Is Warren in your room right now with a shotgun? Is Warren in your room with a shotgun or something?
No, man. If Perks picks Victor against TSM, I'm flipping my prediction. Like, I think like Syndra and
I'm gonna go TSM, FlyQuest, EG.
Okay. EO, who do you have?
I'm just like you. Dig, 100, C9, Immortals, EG. Like,
okay. Warren, who do you have?
I feel like FlyQuest is pulling off a heist with that roster they have. But that's just me.
Stay with your chest, Warren.
I got Dig, TL, TSM, Immortals, and then EG. I just think Immortals is a better team than FlyQuest at this
Warren
point.
has to gift me $10 in RP if Cloud9 actually win.
Oh man.
$10.
The big stakes. But that's pretty much it for this week. We also have the LEC to talk about, but obviously you didn't watch the LEC, so But if you got a general idea of, did you see no games at all? You saw
I didn't watch any of them. No.
Okay, yeah, it's an inferior region anyway, so it's okay.
Oh, the games were like a pinata. They were just back and forth. Like I'm not even gonna lie. I'm not even trying to be funny.
Okay, so that's pretty much everything is in the bag. Anything else? I'm pretty sure we covered everything, actually.
Oh, I had one last question for you, Lauren. How do you feel about, and this is a simple one, how do you feel about players going from like top to mid and all these changes? That's the only question I have.
It's basically, how do I feel about role swaps?
Yeah.
Well, they've worked out pretty well before. Like I guess one of the biggest examples is Huhi, right, from mid to support. He had a really good transition actually, and maybe he had a weak split at the start, but he got better really fast. So I wouldn't do it because I just a top laner at my heart, and I couldn't see myself play another role. But there are a lot of pro players who have a secondary role where they almost prefer playing that in solo queue sometimes. So if that's what they want to do, I'm all for it. I think any player can, if they have that kind of drive to swap, then I think anyone can do it.
So you're gonna be CLG's jungler next, is what you're telling us?
Yes, that's what I meant.
All right, and that's pretty much it. The very last thing, because I know you're watching My Hero Academia, right?
Me? I have watched a bit of the newest season. Okay. I'm not fully caught up though.
Okay. Did you see the trailer for the new movie that's going to be coming out?
I didn't.
Okay, that looks really good.
Okay.
Yeah. What anime are you watching now?
I'm trying to think of something that I've watched recently because I haven't been watching that much anime. Hold on.
I kind of slowed down a little bit.
I finished Great Pretender. I think that's.
I gotta watch Demon Slayer for my subs on my main channel. I gotta watch Demon Slayer because I know Demon Slayer just came out with their movie too. I'm like, is Demon Slayer really that good? I'm gonna go try it out.
I haven't watched it either, but I know a lot of my friends really like it.
Yeah, usually if a lot of friends rave about it, it turns out to be pretty good. Because like I feel like with My Hero, the thing people are like, well, he's not like Goku and Dragon Ball Z. It's like, you know what? Imagine a show not copying another show and having their own idea how to grow a character. That can happen. Two things can happen at the same time. But any movies or TV shows you watched recently, actually?
Oh, man. I feel like I haven't been watching that much. I did.
You've been going outside?
I did just rewatch the Lord of the Rings again. Actually,
those are great movies.
Obviously, I'm a huge fan of those. But that was just a rewatch, right? Like, I rewatch them almost every year. But
what do you think about Amazon? They're gonna come out with the Lord of the Rings series, actually.
I can't wait. I'm not staying optimistic because I know sometimes it's kind of hard to follow up on something that was already so great, and that's why a lot of people didn't really like The Hobbit, right? Compared to Lord of the Rings. But I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I guess something that is new that I watched Invincible, and I thought Invincible
was really good.
Invincible was great.
Yeah, I can't wait for season 2, man.
Yeah,
holy crap. And that's pretty much it. Anything else you guys want to say before we close out of this? I got to get to dating my wife. She's going to come in through this door any moment right now.
All right.
Yeah, I don't have a wife. She that's pretty much it. NA's going to win Worlds. That's pretty much it. So, yeah.
Big facts.
Perks already made World Finals. Perks already made World Finals, so.
Can only go up.
And he didn't win any games, but if you win one more game than you did the last time, that's actually going up. You're actually statistically improving. But they announced that the World's going to be in China again. But I mean, we already knew that anyway. They
5 different locations, though.
5 different locations. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Watch Clear Love come out and play on EDG randomly again.
So that's nice. It's nice because I like when they do move from the I don't know how they're going to change the form from each venue, so that's gonna be, and we kind of got gypped with, not gypped, but because I can't blame China, and I don't want to blame China. Let me not say that. That's not what I'm trying to say. COVID, I see Lauren's face. That's not what I'm trying to say. COVID.
He's like, I gotta leave right now.
COVID ruined the entire landscape of league professional scene, so we got denied the real experience of Worlds and an actual MSI.
You know what people said about it's the same thing people said with the Laker championship in 2020. They're like, oh, it's a bubble championship. It doesn't count. I'm like, I guess maybe.
Oh no, it counted. It counted, but that whole the audience brings such a
dude. The audience is such a factor
to these events, and people, the players say they feed off of. I mean, Lauren, even in the studio, when you hear the fans rooting for you when you were playing that
it's a big difference. It's a big difference.
Yeah. So how Travis has double lift, because basically a Lorm could be like my double lift. He could give me all the juicy insights,
Yeah, but you gotta house me for a couple months too, right?
What?
When I go homeless.
Oh,
That's what Travis did.
I'm in California. You can live in my house. I'm in California. I have a pretty good place. I have food.
Sounds like Nightwing needs to get a couch.
I have a couch. It's right here.
Is it clean?
Actually, yeah, but there's so many. I order stuff.
I love how you say actually, yeah. as if to suggest that
Normally it's not.
Normally it is, but I've been ordering stuff.
This couch has a questionable history.
So normally the house is always clean. You know how you order stuff and you don't exactly open it in the first one, you just put it on your couch. Yeah, I've ordered so much stuff I just put it on my couch.
I see.
Yeah, because I have this right here for my main channel. I got a new monitor right there, 34-inch monitor.
I'm just gonna tweet Alora my couch out here in Salt Lake City. And I'll let him decide where him and the cat want to sleep.
In case I have to leave and just crash at someone else's place.
Yeah.
And then you can just provide me content. You know,
right.
juicy interviews. I can
Watch
have you
me
as a
solo
spy. But yeah, man. Hopefully you had fun here. You know, you're more than welcome to be on any single time. You know, Warren, you want to say anything else besides not about COVID? You can get us canceled.
No, I'm good. Thanks to Lauren for taking the time out to be here with us, answer our questions. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.
EO, anything else you want to say?
Thanks. Good to have you on, man. Look forward to the next time, and I will be tweeting you a picture of the couch.
Oh my god! the next time Alorum's on, he'll be in California playing on Cloud9. Actually,
yeah.
I'll be on.
See me at Worlds.
I have a second PC. I'll just set up my stream for my couch.
All right, guys. See you guys later. Like, comment, subscribe. Most of all, enjoy. I'm the Nightwing. Way of Life Esports is signing out. Have a good day.